In 1492, Christopher Columbus set sail west, seeking a new route to Asia. Instead, he landed in the Americas, a place already home to millions. This arrival changed history, launching an age of exploration. European monarchs raced to claim new lands, dreaming of gold, silver, and resources. The race for discovery began, reshaping maps and minds. Explorers like Amerigo Vespucci mapped the coast, and the continents were named America in his honor. These voyages were perilous, but the lure of the unknown was irresistible. For Native Americans, the impact was devastating. Europeans brought diseases like smallpox and measles, to which natives had no immunity. The Columbian Exchange introduced new plants and animals, transforming life on both sides of the ocean. Worlds collided, creating a new, often difficult, shared history. The arrival of Europeans marked the beginning of dramatic change. Native cultures faced upheaval, and the land itself would never be the same. The age of exploration set the stage for centuries of conflict and transformation. The world was forever altered. European nations rushed to build colonies: Spain, France, England, the Netherlands, and Portugal. They sought timber, furs, and fertile land, claiming vast territories, often overlapping and sparking conflict. Early settlements like Jamestown and Plymouth faced hunger, disease, and harsh conditions. Encounters with Native Americans were tense, sometimes peaceful, often violent. Trade and cooperation happened, but so did conflict and dispossession. Colonists pushed west, taking more land and threatening native ways of life. New diseases devastated native populations, wiping out entire communities. Wars and broken treaties followed, leading to loss of land and freedom for many tribes. Colonization brought tragedy for Native Americans. European expansion meant the end of many traditional cultures. The consequences were severe and lasting. Native resistance was strong, but the tide of colonization was relentless. The story of settlement is one of survival, loss, and profound change. The land was transformed, and so were its people. The legacy of dispossession still echoes today. The tragedy of colonization shaped the future of the continent. The 13 British colonies grew along the Atlantic, each with its own identity and local government. But British rule became increasingly unpopular. After costly wars, Britain imposed new taxes on sugar, stamps, and tea, without colonial representation. No taxation without representation became the rallying cry. Protests erupted from the Boston Massacre to the Boston Tea Party. Britain responded with harsh laws fueling colonial resistance. Tensions exploded in 1775 at Lexington and Concord. The American Revolution had begun. Colonial militias fought British troops, and the struggle for independence was underway. On July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed, boldly proclaiming freedom. The war was long and difficult, but the colonies united for a common cause. The birth of the United States was a turning point in world history. The fight for liberty inspired others around the globe. Independence was won, but the challenges were just beginning. The new nation faced the task of building a government and defining its future. The revolution set the stage for a new experiment in democracy. The world watched as America forged its own path. Independence was just the start. The United States faced tough tests. The Articles of Confederation proved too weak, so leaders wrote the Constitution in 1787, creating a stronger federal government. George Washington became the first president, guiding the young nation. Americans looked west, driven by manifest destiny, the belief that the U.S. should stretch coast to coast. Expansion brought opportunity, but also conflict and loss for Native Americans. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the nation's size, and Lewis and Clark explored the new territory. Wars like the War of 1812 tested the country's resolve. Innovation fueled growth. Eli Whitney's cotton gin, steamboats, canals, and roads transformed life. The economy boomed, but deep divisions grew, especially over slavery. Westward movement reshaped the land and its people. Treaties with native tribes were often broken, leading to more dispossession. The nation was growing, but unity was fragile. The seeds of future conflict were being sown. Slavery divided the nation north against south. The North industrialized and opposed slavery's spread. The South depended on slave labor for its economy. Compromises failed, and Abraham Lincoln's election in 1860 led Southern states to secede. The Civil War erupted in 1861, tearing the country apart. Battles like Gettysburg claimed thousands of lives. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 declared enslaved people in Confederate states free. After 4 brutal years, the Union prevailed and slavery was abolished by the 13th Amendment. The war strengthened the federal government but left deep scars. Reconstruction aimed to rebuild the South and grant rights to African Americans. New amendments promised citizenship and voting rights, but equality remained elusive. The struggle for civil rights would continue for generations. The Civil War redefined freedom and unity in America. Its legacy still shapes the nation. After the Civil War, America rapidly industrialized. Railroads connected the nation, and factories produced steel and goods on a massive scale. Cities swelled as millions of immigrants arrived, seeking new opportunities. Inventors like Edison, Bell, and Ford revolutionized daily life with electric light, the telephone, and affordable cars. Economic growth soared, transforming how Americans lived and worked. America expanded its influence overseas, acquiring territories like Puerto Rico and the Philippines. The Spanish-American War in 1898 marked America's rise as a global power. The Panama Canal connected oceans, boosting trade and military reach. The Progressive Era brought calls for reform, better working conditions, ending child labor, and women's suffrage. America was defining its modern identity amid rapid change. The nation's role in the world was growing. The foundations of a new century were being laid. America's role in World War I helped secure Allied victory and marked its arrival as a world power. The Roaring Twenties brought jazz and new freedoms, but the Great Depression soon followed. World War II saw America emerge as a dominant superpower after Pearl Harbor. The Cold War pitted the US against the Soviet Union in a global struggle, democracy versus communism. The space race peaked with Neil Armstrong's moon landing in 1969. At home, the civil rights movement fought for equality, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr. Landmark laws ended segregation and protected voting rights, but the fight for justice continues. America's influence in technology, culture, and politics remains strong. Yet the nation faces complex challenges: internal divisions, global responsibilities, and questions about its future. What role will America play in the world now? Can it overcome its divisions and live up to its ideals? The story of the United States is still being written. Its future depends on the choices of its people. The journey continues, shaped by hope and struggle. America's legacy is one of change, resilience, and possibility.